Hi everyone, hope you're well today. Looking forward to our session. So let's do the chanting straight away and then the meditations. I thought today that we'd actually do loving kindness meditation, very brief, and then a very brief giving and taking meditation at the end of that. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Buddham saranam gacchami, Dhammam saranam gacchami, Sangham saranam gacchami, Dutiyampi Buddham saranam gacchami, Dutiyampi Dhammam saranam gacchami, Dutiyampi Sangham saranam gacchami, Tathayampi Buddham saranam gacchami, Tathayampi Dhammam saranam gacchami, Tathayampi Sangham saranam gacchami. Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Sanghaya, Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Sanghaya, Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Sanghaya. I take refuge until I am enlightened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Through the positive potential I create by practicing the 6 paramitas, may I soon attain enlightenment in order to benefit all sentient beings. I take refuge until I am enlightened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Through the positive potential I create by practicing the 6 paramitas, may I soon attain enlightenment in order to benefit all sentient beings. I take refuge until I am enlightened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Through the positive potential I create by practicing the 6 paramitas, may I soon attain enlightenment in order to benefit all sentient. May all sentient beings have happiness and its causes. May they be free from suffering and its causes. May they never be parted from the happiness beyond suffering. May they abide in equanimity, free of bias, attachment to the near, and aversion from the far. I shall cause this great compassionate Buddha, please inspire me to be able to do so. Reverently I prostrate with my body, speech, and mind, and present clouds of every types of offerings, actual and mentally transformed. I confess all of my negative actions accumulated since beginningless time, and rejoice in all the virtues of all holy and ordinary beings. Please remain until cyclic existence ends, and turn the wheel of Dharma for all sentient beings. I dedicate the virtues of myself and others to the great enlightenment. However innumerable all sentient beings are, about to save them all. However inexhaustible my delusions are, about to extinguish them all. However immeasurable the Dharma teachings are, about to master them all. However endless the Buddha's way is, about to follow it completely. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Tayata Gati Gati Paragati Parasamgati Bodhi Soha. Tayata Gati Gati Paragati Parasamgati Bodhi Soha. Tayata Gati Gati Paragati Parasamgati Bodhi Soha. So now get yourself comfortable for the meditation practice. As per usual, we will release the tension from the body. So gently close your eyes, lips gently touching, tongue resting on the upper palate, in the mouth. Not too rigid, your body, not slouching either, nice and comfortable, upright if possible. Bring your mind inside your body. And from the tips of the toes, work your way up to the shoulders, down to the tips of the fingers, and then back up to the top of your head. Release the tension as you focus on the different parts of the body. Let's take a few moments to do this now. And now scan your body once more just to see if there's any leftover tension that you can release. And now bring your mind to your breath. Initially, the tip of your nose as you breathe in. Follow the breath as you breathe. It goes through right the way through to the lungs and then back out your nose again. So breathing in all the way into the lungs, then breathing out. Breathing in, breathing out. That's all we have to do right now. Focus on the breath. If thoughts arise or any mental activity arises, don't cling to it. Don't grasp at it. Don't try to force it away or deny it. But simply let it go naturally by replacing your mind back onto your breath. And if your mind starts to become dull or sleepy, wake it up a little bit by focusing on your breath more brightly. You may also like to add the extra technique of counting the breaths from 1 to 10. 1 in-breath, 1 out-breath is 1, and so on. If you get distracted while you're counting towards 10, then go back to 1 at that time. So now we can practice like this in silence for a little bit. And now we can feel very pleased with ourselves for engaging in the meditation practice. And fill yourself with universal loving kindness. Fill your whole being with friendliness, respect, appreciation, and so on. So much so that it now overflows and radiates outwards, initially to your loved ones, family and friends, filling them with the universal loving kindness too. And I will also extend it to loving kindness to strangers, and even to those you may regard as enemies. Fill all of these people with universal loving kindness and wish that they have happiness and the causes of happiness, that they are free from suffering and the causes of suffering, that they are peaceful. Now let's extend the loving kindness to all living beings, initially around your immediate area, those living beings that live on the land, live in the waters, fly through the air, whether they're born from wombs, eggs, moisture, or through transformation. Fill all of these innumerable living beings with universal loving kindness. Now let's extend this loving kindness out, radiate it out further and further distance-wise throughout your whole state or county. And other states and counties throughout your whole country. And other countries throughout the whole world. Initially those you have an affinity towards, as well as those you're indifferent towards, and even to those you may have some sort of negative feelings towards, until your loving kindness pervades this whole planet, throughout all of the countries, throughout the oceans, all the way to the core of the earth, and to the outermost atmosphere. May all of the living beings on this planet be happy, free from suffering, and be peaceful. And now beyond this planet alone, have your loving kindness pervade throughout the whole solar system. And other solar systems throughout the whole galaxy. And throughout the whole universe and beyond, until your loving kindness pervades throughout infinite space. May all living beings have happiness and its causes. May they be free from suffering and its causes. May they be peaceful. And now we will switch to the inhaling and exhaling meditation, the giving, taking meditation. So keep in mind all of these living beings, and also bring to your mind that they are suffering moment to moment. Help yourself to give rise to the bodhicitta intention, the great altruistic, compassionate intention, to attain enlightenment for the welfare of all sentient beings and help them to do likewise. Fill your heart with great compassion. So as you breathe in the black smoke from these living beings, from their heart center, into your heart center, freeing them from suffering, and at the same time, reducing and destroying your self-centeredness. As you breathe out, give the white light, representing all of your happiness and goodness and so forth, from your heart center to their heart centers. So let's do this in silence for a little bit. So once again, now you can feel very pleased with yourself for engaging in this short meditation session, meditations session. And let us do the dedication prayer. Due to this merit, may I soon attain the enlightened state of the Buddha, so that I may be able to liberate all sentient beings from their suffering. May the precious bodhicitta not yet born arise and grow. May that born have no decline but increase forevermore. And may the precious view of shunyata, not yet born, rise and grow. May that born have no decline but increase forevermore. Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Sanghaya. So, as you know, we're having the commentary on the 8 verses of thought transformation. And we're up to the detailed commentary on the first verse. Of course, we have 8 verses to go through. And this first verse, I have actually written myself quite a lot of notes because I wanted to point out some smaller details to create the big picture, so what this verse is really about, to bringing to mind all living beings, just as we did prior to the giving-taking meditation and the loving-kindness meditation. Just thinking about freeing them from suffering and bringing them happiness, leading them to enlightenment, with this great bodhicitta intention, which we have spoken about quite a bit of in the past, with the 6 paramitas, commentary, 4 immeasurable teachings, and so on and so forth. Okay, so I'll continue this until I finish all of these points I wanted to make, and then we'll move on, obviously, to the second verse from then onwards. Okay, so last week, I finished up just last week by, I should actually recite the verse. with the wish to attain enlightenment for the welfare of all sentient beings who are more precious than a wish-fulfilling jewel, I will constantly practice holding them dear. Okay, so I finished up last week by saying that basically our existence is dependent upon other living beings. Even if you simplify that and think, oh, we are born from parents, you know, or even if you want to just think mother, we are born into the mother's womb and then born into this world from there. Of course, at that moment of gestation, when that happens, when the sperm and the egg come together, along with the consciousness comes together, that really is the time of the birth, isn't it? But that actually doesn't have a beginning either. You know, that's dependent, once again, on the sperm and on the egg and the consciousness that has come from past and that has been affected by the karma conditions that we've created from the past existences. Okay, so you can see already that we are dependent upon others. Okay, so the last sort of point that I made last week is all of our desirable experiences and our aspirations are dependent upon the cooperation and interaction with others. And this is an obvious fact. Even if you want to do your best to prove this wrong, you can't. Think about it. Maybe try that sometimes with the Buddha's teachings or with these points that we're making during the commentaries, that try yourself to prove them wrong. That way you get some conviction in the truth, okay? Once again, don't just believe what I'm saying. Don't just believe what you read. Don't just believe what you hear from any Dharma teachers or from reading the words of the Buddha. You know, don't just believe that. Test it, because that's the way you will alleviate your doubts. Okay, it's important. That's one thing that really was fantastic when I was younger. I come across some of these teachings, was that I couldn't prove them wrong. I thought of, oh, what's the other possibilities? You know, they're impossible, actually. So the possibilities are impossible, the other ones. So I thought that was just magnificent. Gave me a lot of confidence at different times in my life to increase, to lift my game, if you want, in my practice of the Dharma. So, so resuming from that, the next note I've made is also as a practitioner, many of the higher levels of realization that you gain and the progress you make on the Dharma path depend on the cooperation and interaction with others. Think about that. Your teachers, your books that you may buy, the company who made the books, there's people working for them. In the printing press, where's the income from? The commentaries by the masters throughout the ages. I know that some of you have been studying texts like Bodhicitta, so like the Way of the Bodhisattva by Shantideva. We're dependent upon Shantideva giving that teaching and then it being written down later, passed down throughout the ages. So we're dependent upon the cooperation of others and also the interaction with others. I think this is also obvious, but I give you the challenge. Prove it wrong. Try to prove it wrong. You can't. We don't. Sometimes, you know, we feel like we're alone in this world, I think. But we're not. You could say I'm alone in this room right now. But actually, I'm not. Because there are living beings around. Maybe in between the walls. Many insects and spiders. We don't like to think like that. Turn our back on it, but they're there. We're existing with them. So, and also our fellow practitioners, you know, whether we get on or not, whether we're in each other's lives intimately or whether it's more from a distance, sort of indifferent way, we are still dependent upon each other. For instance, if you go back to that text, or even the sutras, for instance, I know that I've got copies of the longer, I've got copies of a lot of books, a lot of sutras and things, but one that comes to mind now, because we just practice meditation, was Satipatthana Sutra, or Foundations of Mindfulness. There's the longer one, there's the shorter one. People want to read this, whether you know these people or not, so they make books. So then you can benefit from that by purchasing a book or getting it for free, and then reading it and putting it into practice, and then sharing the good vibes with others, and even giving formal teachings or informal teachings. See how we're dependent upon each other like this. So especially dependent upon teachers, students. We go through life like this. Of course, we have formal teachers, the title of teacher, whatever subject, could be Dharma, it could be mathematics, whatever, and the students. Without the students, the teacher can't teach anything or anybody. Without the teachers, the students can't get to learn these concepts and methods and how to put them into practice. Okay, so that's all I'll say on that. Okay, the next point is also, even at Buddhahood, even though our compassion, when we are Buddha, our compassionate actions, and so on, are spontaneous. We don't have to think about it, okay? I won't go into too many details with that because we actually covered that in the 5 wisdoms part of the commentary on the wisdom aspect of the 6 paramitas. Okay, so they're spontaneous actions, but they are without effort. And they are only in relation to sentient beings, right? The Buddha's enlightened actions and the words he spoke, the Dharma he taught, dependent upon sentient beings. So even when we attain Buddhahood, we are still interconnected with living beings. Obviously, it's very different to us right now. Without these living beings, there's no Dharma being taught. It's pointless, because the ultimate truth that the Buddha is pointing the way towards is beyond words, beyond concepts. But because we need words and concepts to be able to get some idea and, indirect knowledge to begin with, or beginning with actually inferential knowledge, then indirect knowledge eventually through practice, have direct knowledge. Okay, so because these sentient beings are the recipients of the Buddha's enlightened actions and enlightened speech, okay, pointing the way to the Dharmakaya, which means the truth body, the enlightened mind itself. Okay, the next bit is, so you can see they are a source of joy, happiness, and prosperity. So all of these living beings, including yourselves, including us, including the ones you know, the ones you don't know, and so on and so forth, actually are the source of joy, happiness, and prosperity, both from the Dharma point of view as well as from a worldly point of view. The basics, okay? I've mentioned this before. Food. We need food. Otherwise, we starve. Where's the food come from? Even if you are growing everything yourself and making everything yourself, you're still dependent upon the creatures in the soil, living on the plants, nurturing in a sense. And also, I know we don't like to think like this, but the insect poo is essential for the health of the soil that you grow your things in. So we're dependent upon poo too, from all of these living beings. But of course, in the modern world, and well, actually throughout the ages, markets, things like this, we are dependent upon others to buy our food or to trade, to get certain things that we need, the fruits and vegetables and so on. And so you can see that once again, we are dependent upon having the joy of eating, being happy eating, getting the nutrition that we need through eating. So we need the food, and even a grain of rice, takes a lot for that grain of rice to come from the field, or say from last year's crops, and to this year's, then from the field, the processing, things like that, and even into the supermarket, the packaging, the freight, the truck driving, wherever it comes from, the boats. These are all dependent upon living beings engaging, doing their work, and so on and so forth, okay? We need shelter. Now, of course, we can build, even if we build our own house, let's say from wood. Where's the wood come from? It's a tree, once again, relating again to nature and other living beings. But in modern times, we rely upon maybe builders for a house, or even if you don't own the house, maybe renting or something like that, or staying with friends or whatever. You still have been dependent upon the house being built and the kindness of others. Clothing, same. I won't go into too many details. It's pretty much the same thing, isn't it? And where's the material come from? The skills being used along the way. Companionship. I think us human beings like to have companionship. Sometimes good, hopefully good always. Sometimes we do it through habit. Maybe we are companions with people that have the same type of hobbies and habits that we have. Remember a while ago I said hobbits. I mixed those two words up. I don't know if you remember that. Anyway, also even things like fame. I know that we don't. Our goal is not to be famous, in Dharma practice, if we are genuine in our practice. But even things like fame or getting well liked, being respected by others, this once again is dependent upon others. The feelings of comfort and a sense of security are also dependent upon others, and also on their perception of us and their affection. Feels nice, doesn't it, when we have some sort of affection from others? It doesn't have to be physical, but like a mental affection, companionship. And if they perceive us as friends, it feels nice. Even if they perceive us as enemies, we're still dependent upon them for that. And then, as I've mentioned, as we will speak about in other verses, that even if they're nasty to us, we get the opportunity to develop patience, forbearance, etc. Okay? So that's the first page done of my notes. That's good. Actually, how many pages are there? Just for the first verse. 13. There's another 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 5 pages of notes just for the verse 1. But like I said, the other ones, there's not as much. This is the most that we have the notes for. So it's very basic, almost like, a human affliction is actually the very basis for our existence. I wanted to make that comment because you think, why are we born? Or how are we born? We are born due to our ignorance. From ignorance gives rise to attachment and aversion. So we are born due to our karma that we create based on these 3 poisons and all of the other ones that they give rise to. Don't be offended by that, by the way. This is what we're working to uproot. No. And other living beings have these afflictions. We have these afflictions. So you could say how our whole existence, samsara, is built on these afflictions. And we have this in common with all living beings. But also we have good qualities, and other living beings have the good qualities too. Wouldn't it be so nice if all of these living beings, including those ones you may despise, if they actually have these good qualities and have acting upon them, creating the good merit, the good karma, just like the immeasurable prayer that we do. You know, may all sentient beings have happiness and its causes. May they be free from suffering and its causes. So if they are free from causing the suffering, they're not going to behave in a bad way. Neither will we. We're all each other's teachers. I'll go back to that. We're all each other's teachers, and we're all students. All of us. We can teach each other good ways, or we can teach each other bad ways. Up to us how we take it, of course. So life begins with affection, our sustenance and our growth, etc. Right at the beginning of our lives, we are dependent upon our parents, relatives, and friends. True? Right at the end of our lives, if we live a long life, we will be dependent again on others in a big way. You know, maybe even nursing, doctors, things like this, okay? Also, in the middle of our lives, we're also dependent upon others. But in the middle of our lives, when we have the vitality, this is the time we should make great effort to really be of benefit to others, to develop this compassion for their benefit. It's almost like, even though it's not exactly like this, but it's almost like we pay back the kindness when we have the energy to do so. Of course, we still do this always. We should do it always. But when we have the vitality, the youth, etc., we should utilize it. Okay, what about a child, you know, very helpless, a human baby? It's helpless. And then what about the education? Parents and friends and so forth, helping educate informally, then formally, to become a good adult. Always dependent upon others and affection, companionship, and so on. The more you care for others, the more calm and satisfied your mind will be. And the more positive they will appear when your mind is like that. I leave it there, okay, because it's under 1 minute. I didn't see when it actually happened. So hopefully you have a lovely week ahead. I look forward to seeing you next week. Take care of yourselves, both mentally and physically. I rejoice in your meritorious goodness, as always. Practice well. Test the Dharma, then put it into practice. Namo Buddhaya. Namo Dharmaya. Namo Sanghaya.